on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. It has been 2 years to the day since Hamas-led militants launched a surprise attack on Israel. And during that attack, nearly 1,200 Israelis and foreign nationals were brutally murdered. 251 hostages were taken. In response, Israel launched a devastating military campaign in Gaza, which has killed more than 67,000 people. Most of them have been civilians. That's according to Gaza health authorities. But peace talks are currently underway in Egypt between Israel and Hamas representatives after U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled a 20-point peace plan to end the conflict. Now, there is a mix of cautious hope and deep skepticism with this process about whether these talks could mark a real turning point. And for more on this, we are joined in studio this morning by Maytal Kowalski. She's executive director of JSpace Canada, and that's a Jewish organization in favor of a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us this morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. It's a lot of complex emotions. Trying to hold the pain of and remembering just how horrific that day was 2 years ago today, and really allow that to stand on its own and honor those victims. But to also look at just how devastating and how decimated these two societies are, both Israeli and Palestinian, and just how this, for the past 2 years, this absolute war of annihilation has just taken so much from so many people, when we could have seen a diplomatic solution, I think, a lot earlier.
And of course, as soon as that attack by Hamas took place, we knew that there would be retribution, of course, from Israel, especially from the Netanyahu government. Did you expect it would be what we have seen now?
Not in a million years. Not in a million years. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of Netanyahu and have not been a fan of him for a very, very long time. But it never crossed my mind that what we have seen, that it would go on for as long as it did, and not only because of the devastation and how terrible everything that we are seeing is, but the Israeli military strategy has traditionally been short, quick wars. The way that this is not only, as I said, not only devastating Palestinian society and an increasing unacceptable death toll for Palestinians in Gaza, but this is also not, this is not ideal for Israeli society, for the Israeli economy. This war of absolute revenge, there was no. I did not predict it, and it is very clear that it has not gone in the direction that it needed to.
And a lot of young Israelis serving the IDF as well, who probably didn't expect to find themselves in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, a growing movement now in Israel. There is mandatory conscription there. And there's a lot of faith in the IDF. And even when other institutions, when folks lose trust in other institutions, there is usually a very high level of trust in the IDF. We're even seeing that eroding. We're seeing more of a movement of those who are refusing to serve. It's becoming clearer and clearer to larger swaths of the society that what is happening in Gaza is, again, just an absolute war of annihilation. It is not, the military objectives are not to release the hostages. The military objectives really actually aren't even to get rid of Hamas, because if that was the case, then there would have been a day after plan coming out of the Netanyahu government in those early months, and we still have not seen anything.
Israel says 48 hostages remain, and it's believed that 20 of them are alive. What have you been hearing from the Israeli and Jewish communities about, I guess specifically from people who have connections to the region about that?
It's incredibly difficult because more and more folks, again, are seeing this as seeing this war as something that actually is not working to release the hostages. We've seen that the vast majority of hostages have been released through diplomacy and through negotiations and ceasefires. And we've even seen that those who have been rescued, not only is it incredibly risky, but it has come at a very high death and injury toll for innocent Palestinians that are nearby. And so I think that there's just so much despair in Israeli society, we see it's actually incredible to see that for 2 years, hostage families, those who are, in the most pain and suffering the most right now in Israeli society, are out in the streets protesting the Netanyahu government, demanding that there be a deal, demanding that they be released. And they have been doing this for nearly 2 years now. So it is, I can't imagine the pain of those families to feel that they are being abandoned by their government.
We have indirect peace talks between Hamas and Israel. They've begun in Egypt. How hopeful are you that there will be any real negotiations that could end this? Because there seem to be enormous stumbling blocks on both sides.
There are. I remain hopeful solely because I don't know that we have another choice. This just cannot go on forever, and this needs to end. I hope that the pressures that are being leveraged and put on both sides, both the Qataris and Egypt pressuring Hamas and Trump pressuring Netanyahu, I really do hope that we see that this is finally the end. That being said, every single time there has been some progress, I hold on to a bit of hope, and maybe that's naive, but I don't know that we really have any other choice.
One of the sticking points, obviously, is Israel will not recognize Palestine as an independent state, whereas we have governments around the world doing that now. What's the alternative?
Unfortunately, the alternative is the direction that the Israeli government has been moving in since even before this war, before this Netanyahu government, which is de facto or de jure annexation of the West Bank. We now see a call for, or there have been increasing calls since the beginning of this war to resettle Gaza as well from a lot of the extremist right-wingers. I think that for anyone we are a Zionist organization, I am a Zionist. For anyone who believes in Zionism, that is a Jewish and democratic state, that cannot exist without a Palestinian state. So I think that for anyone purporting to be pro-Israel or to be a Zionist, if they are in tow with Netanyahu and saying that there will never be a Palestinian state, then in my opinion, they're also going against, not only our Jewish values, but our Zionist values as well.
And point 19 in the 20-point peace plan says, while Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
Not exactly rock solid.
Not exactly rock solid. That being said, a lot of times these things do move incrementally. We do see that things, especially in this region, things can change on a dime. We saw it. I don't think that anyone during the Yom Kippur War right after in 73 would have believed that 5 years later there would be peace with Egypt, and yet it did happen. 5 years in the grand scheme of things is really nothing. And when you poll Israelis, you still see to this day that a vast majority will say that, that peace with Egypt is an integral part of, Israel's belonging in the region and security in the region. So, what it says now, things can change. Unfortunately, we've seen so often that things change for the worst, but let's hope that there's a possibility that things can change for the better.
You sound hopeful.
I don't have a choice. Our good friends of our organization, Ma'ozi Nun and Aziza Busara, who are an Israeli and Palestinian, who both have lost countless loved ones in this conflict, not just this war, but in the years before as well. They always talk about hope being an action. So I don't think that hope is something that we sit around and cross our fingers. It's something that we take action on every day. That's what we do at JSpace Canada. That's what I've been doing for the vast majority of my life, both when I lived in Israel and coming back here to Canada. And like I said, I just don't know that there's another choice.
Maytal, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Maytal Kowalski is the executive director of JSpace Canada. That's a Jewish organization that is promoting a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine.